How's it going? I'm sure all of you saw the speech, so you don't have to hear a speech. We'll just open it up to some questions. How you doing, Marcia? Good.
So we'll start with on topics.
Who we start with? Oh, okay.
I get asked, Mr. Mayor, so while we listened to your speech and we certainly heard your concern about the fiscal situation, it was sort of short on details about what's going to happen to agencies like the police, the fire department, education. Could you give us some specifics about what's going to happen to essential services in each department?
Okay, Jock will do a detail because we, out of the 70-something agencies, to go line by line on what the impacts are, we're not going to be able to do that in such a short period of time because I'm going to bounce in a moment. So, but we're going to go through, Jock will go through that, but we were very clear to all of our agencies, no cuts in services, which are important, no layoffs. Those very clear directions. And we stated this not only from the time I was elected, from the time I was running. Fiscal responsibility is going to be the hallmark of this administration. Taxpayers deserve a better use of their tax dollars, and that's what we're doing.
Will they have to do more with less headcount?
It's not more with less. We don't subscribe to that theory of more with less. We have to do better than what we have. And we believe there were real savings, and we see that. And I think that it is unfair to say that everyday civil servants have not been producing a quality product, and they're going to continue to do so. We go into civil service for a reason, to provide a service to the people of the city. And we have been doing that. We have not been just surviving, we've been thriving. And our track record of success and delivery of services is showing that.
Okay,
What's up, Katie?
How are you?
Good.
I wanted to ask you, you said that there won't be, your directive to agencies was no cuts to services and no layoffs. But, I know the libraries, which receive most of their funding to the city, the 3 public library systems in the city, said that if the budget cuts that we saw in the November modification that will continue in the preliminary budget, if they continue, there will be actual cuts, talking about cuts to English language learning classes, cuts to entire days of service. So what is your plan there, and can you give us more detail about those specific cuts, because those are actual service cuts?
I think my long record of public libraries is just, really something to be proud of. From the days of being a state senator to borough president, how I use my capital dollars allocated to the libraries. What we did last year around teen centers. I'm a big believer in libraries. What we're looking at are the vacancies. That is where we're asking, and we gave our instructions on those areas of vacancies. We are saying 50% that we want them to remove. That's the same for our libraries. These are tough times, and I can't tell you how many times my deputy mayors have knocked on the door and say, well, can we spare this agency? Can we spare that agency? No, we have to send a strong message that we must find more efficient ways of running our city, and we could do that, and we're doing that every day.
Sally?
Hi, Mayor. I know you mentioned a few times fiscal responsibility, and you said that the agency spending is basically being covered by whatever they saved. On the other hand, the budget has gone up. I think it was $98.5 billion when you took office and $101 billion last year. So could you just kind of explain why the budget is going up if the agencies aren't spending more without saving, and if fiscal responsibility is sort of the North Star?
Yes, thank you for that. Minimum new initiatives, they come with the price tag. And we have not put in place extremely costly initiatives. There are a whole lot of things I would like to do. But just as if we're asking everyday taxpayers to properly balance their budgets at home, we have to do the same. And so we have a minimum increase in new needs and new initiatives that we want to put in place, like our summer jobs that we put in place for young people and other initiatives. So minimum new initiatives, and that's what you see some of the costs increase. And we have to put money just even dealing with inflation on fuel costs and other costs. So there are areas where there are increase in spending that we have to do.
Hey,
Michael.
How you doing? So I wanted to ask you about the statement the council speaker and Justin Brennan put out earlier today. They were talking about the budget modification, and at the end of their statement, they said they're basically, prepped for a fight on the preliminary that you've announced today. Can you tell us a bit about the conversation you had with council's leadership, and are you concerned with this kind of footing they took right before your preliminary budget announcement?
No, not at all. I cannot say enough about Speaker Adrian Adams. Not only is she a high school mate, I consider her to be a friend. She's a leader of a body of government, and there's the checks and balances, and she must speak on behalf of her membership. And we had a good conversation here. There were things she agreed on, disagreed on. There's things that she wanted, and that's fine with me. I really believe 2022, unfortunately, it was unfortunate that the dialogue got in the way of our success, and that is not going to be 2023 for me. I have partners in every parts of government, and I consider Adrian to be one of those partners. I may be the pilot, but she's the co-pilot. And we have to land this plane, and we can't land it without each other, and we're going to have disagreements, but trust me, we will land this plane, and we will have a budget.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Mayor.
How are you, Dana?
I'm well, thank you. I was wondering if you could tell us the current FTE headcount, and because I understand it's lower, it continues to decline, and whether you're at all concerned that the ongoing bleeding of civil service will impact service delivery, even if you're not mandating service cuts.
You said what was?
About
301,000.
Yeah. We had a meeting this morning. The First Deputy Mayor and I had an event this morning with our corporation leaders. Everyone is experiencing headcount. It just amazes me sometimes, like, the way it is being interpreted that only City Hall is experiencing we had headcount issues. We're at 8%. The Comptroller's office, as I spoke today, is at 14, 15%. The City Council is at 14%. Everyone is experiencing headcount issue, and for a number of reasons that we're experiencing that. We're entering a new norm in post-pandemic, and so we have to adjust to that new norm of what we are experiencing. And, even many of you work from home, so I'm pretty sure even your own establishments are downsizing in some way. This is the new norm. And what we must do, and I tell my team all the time, is we can't sit back and say what our headcount issues are. We have to sit back and say, how do we adjust to the new norm? That's what we're going to do, and we're going to continue to provide the services the city needs.
Mr. Mayor.
Bernadette, how are you?
How much money has the city spent to date on the migrant crisis?
A lot. It's a moving target that continues to move. A few months ago, we talked about the agreement that came from El Paso, that they were not going to be sending those large number of migrants here to the city. But trust me when I tell you, our numbers, we are still receiving hundreds of migrants. In the last few days, we received, I believe, 800. We're still in this crisis. And so we're predicted it's going to be about $1 billion during this fiscal year, maybe more. If we open the borders again, it's going to increase even more. And it's a lot. And so once we come up with a solid number, it's still moving, it's still shifting. We're opening HERCs over and over again. So all I can say at this point is a lot.
Mr. Mayor, can you discuss the funding of the police department, how it compares to the November modification, and how overtime will implicate the budget for the PD?
Well, and I'm going to let Jack go into the particulars, but some of the money we're getting from our subway safety plan, thank God of the good relationship we have with the governor, that money is going to be, some of that money is going to be reimbursed by the governor. We had an issue in this city around public safety. And the successful use of our manpower allowed us to do what we wanted to accomplish, particularly in the second half of the year. We started out rugged. February, I think we were up 40% in many of the index crimes. We're down to 20% in some of those index crimes, decrease in shootings, decrease in homicides. Someone told me the other day, well, decrease in homicide is nothing to be happy about. Oh, really? Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a lot to be happy about. We are showing real significant gains on the subway system. The last quarter, that's why we did the presser the other day. We're moving in the right direction. I am not going to trade off public safety. We have to be safe. I'm not going to trade that off. We have to not only have real numerical indicators that we're safe, but there's need a symbolism. New Yorkers must feel safe, and they feel safe when they see that blue uniform. We're going to recruit. We have to use overtime in a smart way. We're going to do that. We decreased the number of officers assigned to our New Year's celebration. We decreased numbers of officers assigned to parades. We are really monitoring how we're spending taxpayer dollars. We have a civilianization plan that we're rolling out. We're seeing a very qualitative deployment of police. I talked about this on the campaign trail. We were not deploying police correctly. We're starting to deploy them better. And I'm really pleased what Commissioner Sewell is doing. And we're going to use whatever dollar I need to keep this city safe. I'm going to do that. He'll do it when he does his briefing.
There's no increase from November to now in the pieces.
How does it compare to other?
We'll have a technical briefing later when we go through this. Ayana, go ahead.
That was my same question, just asking about the NYPD funding.
It's the same as November.
Mayor, the state comptroller just came out with a statement criticizing that the city isn't doing enough when it comes to the migrant influx. Is there a plan B if the money isn't coming from the federal government, if there's no more financial assistance? And on top of that, the governor also didn't include any money for the migrant crisis here in the city in her budget address, or her state of the state. What's kind of your reaction to that?
Okay. Can you ask the controller to show you the letter he wrote to the federal government asking for help for us? Can you ask anyone, where are their letters that they wrote to governmental entities to help New York City? Helping New York City is not saying spend more of taxpayers' dollars. I just want one letter, one tweet. Maybe y'all can find a tweet. Did you see one? Right. Can you get them on the cell phone, speakerphone, and say, can you send us the letter that you sent to the federal government saying, help New York City? Or send us a tweet, or do an Instagram post with a sign. Do something. Can you believe it? We're the only ones that are saying, federal government, do your job. But everyone is telling us to do our job, which we're doing every day. We're doing that every day. We're doing our job. So I need help. And that was one of the number one things I said to all my colleagues. I need you to join me in telling the federal government, New York taxpayers don't deserve this. And so if he believes I'm not doing a good enough job, then I think he should be part of this team calling for the federal government to do their job.
Yes, there's some high school students outside protesting, complaining about what they say was almost $1 billion in school budget cuts. They're calling for those to be restored. Are they being restored? How much of those are being restored if they are?
First of all, having high school, as a person who has participated in protests throughout my life, seeing our young children involved in civic engagement warms my heart. Just do it on Saturday and Sunday. I would like for them to be in school, but having them engage, having them analyzing the budget, I'm going to go to that school and I'm going to give them an analysis of our budget. We want this civic engagement with our students. I think it's commendable that they are getting involved in these important issues, and they too I would like for them to do a letter writing campaign to the federal government and say we need to be treating New York City fairly around the money that we're putting into the asylum seekers, and we should get our fair share of tax dollars back to the city. And so I would like for them to stay engaged, and I'm really pleased that they were out. I heard them from my room, talking about this issue. We know we're doing the right thing around education. Jock will break that down when he does his analysis, and we listened to Councilwoman Rita Joseph, came up with some good ideas, and we believe we've done some great things around education. We'll continue to do so. But hooray for those students, but just do it on the weekend.
Yes,
What's up,
Mr.
Liz?
Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I wanted to ask you about unions. It doesn't look like you're setting aside more than the initial 1.25%, correct? And earlier this week, in talking about the nurses, you were talking about their sacrifices that they made during COVID, and you know that the municipal workers, police, teachers, firefighters, they're going to make the same argument to you. What does a fair contract mean in this environment, in this context?
Well, that's part of the negotiation, and we're not going to do that in public. But I understand the sacrifice of being a civil servant, because I think if you do an analysis of the mayors of the years, I'm probably one of the only modern day mayors that was a civil servant. So when we talk about health care, that's my health care. When we talk about pension, that's my pension. When we talk about the commitment of being a civil servant, that's who I was. And so I know what they do, and we're going to be as fair and fiscally responsible as possible. So I agree 100%. We have a great workforce, and we need to treat them with the level of respect that they deserve. And that's why we're being extremely mindful as the labor commissioner sitting down and having these contractual negotiations.
Mr. Mayor, can you mention, or can you talk about the enhanced security measures for schools?
Yes.
What is that going to entail?
Yes, hearing from school officials and students, we heard a uniform concern around the doors in the various entryways. And Chancellor Bank was able to find technology. I'm a technology person. He was able to find technology that allows all the other school doors to be locked, but put a camera with a buzzer system on the front door that allows the school safety agent to sit there and see the person before they let them inside the school. And we're looking to expand this and grow that pilot and put it in all our schools.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Also, in the comptroller's statement, he talked about raising new revenue. Presumably, knowing him, he's talking about raising taxes on the wealthy. Is that something you'd be in favor of?
That was part of, he mentioned that in our meeting, and I shared with him the first order of business is we must get our fiscal house in order, and that is what we're going to continue to do. And I also shared with him that our city is hemorrhaging high-income earners. We're losing a substantial amount of high-income earners for all places, Florida. And we need to be very conscious of that. You heard my statement that 52% of our taxes are paid by 2% of New Yorkers. And those tax dollars by those 2% of high-income earners are putting cops on our street, paving our highways, our schools, museums. And we just have to be extremely focused on, we don't want to continue to have the reputation that we're the highest tax state between California and New York. And so if there's a need, then that's something we need to sit down and focus on. But he also knows that we don't control income tax. It's controlled by the state. And if we do any property tax, we have to be thoughtful, look after those small homeowners when we think this through, and we want to get this resolved during this fiscal year. But we need to be thoughtful. We need to spend our tax dollars appropriately. New Yorkers deserve better than how we've been using their tax dollars.
Everyone's got such good questions.
Okay, we're gonna move on then. Who's the next? Okay.
The capital funding for housing. Obviously, this is a huge issue for the state. big issue. Last year, is it the same as last year? I think it was 2.2 billion per year, or has that changed in the upcoming year?
Well, our number of 23 billion for investment in housing is the highest. And as we said last year, we are doing something with our chief housing officer that has not been done before. We've pulling in NYCHA. But we need to build more. We're going to need help from Albany. We also self-examined ourselves and say, what could we be doing better? And there was a lot of things we could do better and to encourage and incentivize housing in the city. Our investments are very strong. We believe we need to continue to build. And I think $23 billion is a real indicator of that.
Hi, Mr. Mayor.
How are you doing?
Well.
Good.
Good to see you. I have a question. You mentioned in the budget that you only got a fraction of the $7 million, close to nearly $800 million from the federal government. How much of that is allocated actually for New York City, and how much of that is going to cover the migrants, the cost of migrants right now, percentage-wise? How much is that going to cover?
So we don't know the dollar amount. As I stated, I saw Senator Schumer, Antonio Reynoso's State of the Borough, and first of all, I thanked him, and we really need to thank Senator Schumer and Leader Jeffries for what they did, because this deal was almost dead of any money coming here, and he was able to pull this off for us. We don't know what portion we're going to receive. They haven't shared that. We were successful in Tiffany and her team. They were able to successful push the lawmakers there to get us $8 million from FEMA and $2 million additional from Senator Schumer. But we're hoping we get a lion's share of the over $800 million. But let's be clear, that does not solve the problem. We want to be clear on that. That does not solve the problem. The problem is a national problem at our border, and we have to resolve that. No cities in America should be going through this. And my heart goes to El Paso, Washington, Chicago, Houston. I spoke with Mayor Lightfoot, who was just furious. She has people sleeping in the basement of her library. She has people who have to remain on buses for hours. There's no more room. And we need to address this issue. So we need these hundreds of millions of dollars of the money we spent, but we have to resolve this issue.
How much would you say you want out of that portion that's over $700 million?
1.5 billion.
I got a follow-up on Morgan's question, Mr. Mayor. DiNapoli said that the city has chosen not to reflect the anticipated recurring costs associated with asylum seekers. And then he basically went on to say, it's something the city should do. So I was wondering, can you respond to, I think, that initial critique he put out, that the asylum seeker costs haven't been factored in, the recurring costs?
No, and we thank him for his input. I think he does a great job as the state controller. But I lean on the person who has navigated me through these storms, and he stands to the right of me. Jock has done an amazing job for the city, and I'm going to continue to follow his advice. He has not let me wrong thus far. If ever I stand up at the podium and he's not standing next to me, it's because he let me wrong. But until then, he is right to the right of me, and I will continue to follow his advice. Thank you.
Okay, off topic. Sally.
Hi there.
Sally.
So yesterday, I know you were in Albany, you had a number of meetings, I assume with legislative leaders, or maybe it was 2 days ago?
Yes.
Can you share anything about your discussions with the leaders on what you're looking for regarding recidivism and, kind of where they stand on it?
Well, I've said this before, and I'm going to continue to say it. I just believe that there was a disservice last year. There was a real energy that Eric got nothing out of Albany, and it was just so wrong. The list of items that I asked for, there were only 2 items I did not get out of Albany based on my analysis, and that was one, class size. I still think that was a mistake. and my belief in having the dangerousness standard. Those were the only two things I didn't get. I do what? Well, you know, I don't think that was we need it, but that wasn't a huge item. The items that I came up and advocated for, they were there with me, and you would not think that when you read the coverage, but the reality they were. And so this year, I made it clear when I sat down with the leaders and members, you know, the members up there, on what items are important around recidivists. And I said, let's come together, and here we're going to give you the numbers. We believe around 1,700 people are recidivists. They're very violent, and they just have made up their minds that they're going to continue to do violence. How do we now zero in on those? And Carl made a good point that I really agree with. You heard me say there are many rivers that feed the sea of violence, and Carl said, let's look at the totality of our criminal justice system and come up with real plans of addressing the problems in our criminal justice system. That was music to my ears. We're going to show some of our ideas. He's going to show his. Senator Cousins, the majority leader, is also in the same place. I think we're starting off on a real good footing, and I think we're going to make some great inroads.
Mr. Mayor, wondering what's your response to a Post report a day or two ago about tons of food getting thrown out at the Row Hotel Herc in Midtown? There's just bags and bags of food, migrants using hot plates, etc. But we spoke to an employee who said that it's just like garbage city. So wondering how much money is the city?
Well, how we doing this? How we doing this? How we doing this? It's all good.
Responses to that, and also how much does that cost the city? I wrote the story, so that's
Well, we don't know. I like how you reporters love y'all stories. You know, we don't know. First of all, I don't know exactly how much was thrown out. We're going to dig into the reason why, because we should not waste food. We did a survey and asked those who were part of the asylum seekers, you know, give us your thoughts around food. They said they did not want sandwiches. They wanted hot food. We tried to accommodate that. And so, but I guess I'm a little old-fashioned. If our city is giving people food to eat that are in a terrible state, I think that's a real great effort for the people of this city. And I'm not quite sure if there was a bag of food that was tossed out. I don't know the circumstances around that. And so I would dig into it. But what we're going to do, we're going to provide food for people. People may have a different cultural taste for certain foods. We can't do that. We can only provide nutrition, food for people. And then we're doing analysis. If people are ordering too much, then they have to make the adjustments. So we're going to look into it and determine exactly what happened there. I don't know what happened there. I learned about it when I read it in the papers. You want to ask something? Yeah, since it was your story.
How much money the city spends at the Row every day housing and feeding the migrants? And more broadly, we have very few details about specifics. You say that it's costing taxpayers a lot. With all due respect, that's not entirely fair to the taxpayer. What does a lot mean? What is the number?
I always learn in life that when someone starts out with a sentence, with all due respect, they're about to disrespect you. Okay, but I heard your question. It's a lot. And my budget director is going to give you some rough estimates, but the danger of giving rough estimates, then it's reported that these are the factual amounts. It's a moving target. It's moving every day. At this time, the only answer I can give you that it is a lot. And, you know, when we could come up with the right dollar amount because the target has stopped moving so much, then we'll do that. Until then, I can't. Great question.
On the books, one step has always taken, a month ago maybe, was adding some attorney titles to the hard to recruit list, for lifting residency requirements for titles like those. What else is sort of on your mind for actually filling
And that's a great question. First of all, our passive recruitment system is antiquated. We sit around and, for the most part, have people fill out, take the exams or try to fill out. We have to change that mindset. And we're going to be doing a series of things, like we're going to partner with DC 37 to put in place hiring halls. We're going to go and recruit at our colleges and recruit at our high schools upon graduation. We're going to have a universal place where people can go who's looking for a job, and using everything from QR codes to having a centralized place. Because when I walk the streets and I ask people on the subway, do you know where to send someone if they're looking for a job? I'm finding that people don't know the starting place. And so what I have told the Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer, is that we must educate the public where jobs are available and start selling our product of civil servant jobs that are available. These are good jobs with good benefits, good retirements, good pay, and we're going to start selling our product. We're going to be more aggressive and not as passive as we have been historically, waiting for people to come to us. We're going out to them and let them know what jobs are available in the city. But again, let's not lose focus. There is a national hiring crisis. Everywhere I go, engineers, attorneys, nurses, there's a crisis of hiring that we must now adjust to. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, what do you make of George Santos and his future?
I think that he's now elected to Congress, and there's a congressional body that will determine what his future is, and I respect that body and their decision. And then if he stays through the term, he has to go back in front of his voters, and they will determine if he's going to stay in office or not. So at this stage, it is up to his colleagues to decide what's going to happen, and the outcome of any investigation that outside entities will do, they will decide. I don't think my opinion matters here. He was voted into office, and there are procedures in removing someone from office, and there's procedures if his action crossed over into some wrongful doing. We have, investigatory bodies that will determine that.
George Santos, part of his district does include a small portion of New York City. Do you see yourself being able to sit down at the table with him and work to get more resources for New York City from Congress?
Yes, definitely. He's the congressperson that represents parts of the city and even in the state. There are things we need in the state, and also there are things we're going to need. We're going to need votes on the federal level. So until it's determined that he no longer should serve, right now his name is Congressman. And we're not leaving any stone unturned on who we should be sitting down with to make sure New Yorkers get the resources that they need. Thank you.